think. They made a sign of a cross on their forehead. Later it became crossing themselves across their chest. Somebody say, you understand what I'm telling you this morning?
Amen.
The cross, though, it took a while, but did become a well-established sign of the Christian faith. Now, in some ways, the symbol is a bit strange, because if you go back in those days, in the ancient world, crucifixion, the cross was despised. The cross was something not to be sought after. It may have been the most brutal means of execution ever devised. In all of mankind. I mean, if you think about that today, the way they do executions today, that what happens is they try to make it painless. They try to make it so it's more humane. But on the cross, when a person was strung up on the cross, it meant a slow, agonizing death. And many times what would happen is that the person on the cross, his body, listen, they didn't have to take it from the cross because their bodies would bloat and fall from the cross.
Yes.
That's gross, isn't it? It's hideous. That agonizing death on the tree. So if I get a little bit upset when you're making light of your faith, when you're making light of Jesus, you'll understand where I'm coming from. This is the death that he experienced for us. Let's not make light of it. Because we need to start embracing the cross for what it really means. Aren't you glad that Jesus, although he despised the cross, he endured the cross?
Amen.
But for the joy that was set before him, some of you need to understand this. For the joy that was set before him, listen to what I'm telling you. He said, oh, I'm going to the cross. That's not how he did it. Well, we look at, he was making his preparation to go there. Where do you find him? You find him in the garden. He's agonizing. Because he knows what's coming. He's agonizing and he's praying to his Father, Father, if there be any other way. Silence. And he finally, listen, he says, Lord, but not my will. Not my will. Now, over centuries of many unbelievers, they've sneered, they've jeered for Christians worshiping a man who died on the cross. Nietzsche. I know some of you never heard the name Nietzsche. Some of you have. But he was a German philosopher, and he made fun, in a sense, or jeered at the Christian religion. He called it a religion for weaklings. He mocked the idea of us worshiping a God that would be crucified. And some years ago, Josh McDowell, I actually saw the recording. You look it up on YouTube. He was debating with a Muslim, and the Muslim trying to ridicule his faith. He said, how can Christians follow after a man that allowed himself to be killed on the cross? Christian faith is saying that we are riding on the back of a man who died on the cross. Now, Josh McDowell, he answered him. He said, you're right. We're riding on the back of a man who died on the cross, and we're going to ride on his back right to heaven.
Amen.
You see, that little story illustrates a pretty different perspective. That's a crucial difference. In the world, the cross is a symbol of shame. In the world, listen, it's a symbol of shame. It's a symbol of cruelty. It's horrendous. It's terrible. But get this, for those who believe, it is a symbol of salvation.
Yes.
I said earlier, without the cross, there is no salvation.
Amen.
So the question you may be asking then, what does the cross mean? And I don't know. Maybe we need to understand this. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about what the cross meant to God. Last week, we focused on this is what the cross meant to Jesus. But what about the world? What about the world? Some of you are so self-righteous. Here's what you say: to hell with the world. Be careful. Be careful, because you still are part of this world. You know, I'm not of this world. Wait, stop. You continue like that, and you are. you'll be judged with them. What is our job? Our job is to preach Christ and Him crucified. First and foremost over everything else. Everything else should follow. But the world is offended by the cross. Amen? The world is offended by the cross, but we preach Christ crucified. What is it? It's a stumbling block to the Jews and foolishness to the Gentiles. You see, the Jews stumbled at the cross because most of them were looking for a political leader who would deliver them from the heel of the Roman Empire. Deliver them from the oppression of the Roman government. And Jesus dealt with this misunderstanding many times in His ministry, which is why He repeatedly told the people not to spread the news about His miracles. He didn't want to start a political movement. He wasn't looking for an office to fulfill in this world. Are you listening to what I'm telling you?
Amen.
He wasn't looking to start a political movement to overthrow the existing government. You know what He said? First off, He had a place, He had a throne, and the government, the government of the world He came would be upon His shoulders, but He wasn't going to be part of this government. You see, He had started to intend something else, to start something else, a spiritual, say spiritual.
Spiritual.
A spiritual revolution. And here's what that spiritual revolution would do. It wouldn't just dethrone the Roman Empire. It wouldn't just dethrone this king or that queen or that other dictator. No, what it would do, it was overthrow Satan's power. That's what He came to do with this spiritual revolution. At one point, there was a group of people that came, and they wanted to make Jesus their king.
Amen.
And He sent them away. He sent them walking because He had no time for these sort of things. He knew that seeking political power would be a distraction to His primary mission. Now, the Jews simply couldn't imagine a crucified Messiah either. They were looking at a Messiah that was going to come. He's all powerful. It's difficult for us to even understand what crucifixion meant to a Jew. Certainly those 2,000 years ago. And the reason we don't really understand is because we sanitize that cross. We gold plate it, we wear it around our necks, we put it on earrings, we put it on stationery, we hang ornate crosses in our sanctuaries and on our steeples. We build churches in the shape of crosses. All this would be unthinkable in that first century. Nobody would wanted to see a symbol of a cross because of what it meant to them. So terrible was the crucifixion that the word wasn't even spoken. Wait, are you ready for this? I read one commentary where it wasn't even spoken in polite company. Maybe a picture of a cross would be better hung in Auschwitz because it represents that better than it does in many of our churches today. You know, or maybe we could put a noose here, or maybe an electric chair with a man dying in agony. His face is covered, and can you just see smoke coming from his head? That very thought sickens you and me, doesn't it? To see somebody executed in those ways. But that's what the cross meant for Jesus. Death on the cross was nothing pretty. And that's why the Jews were scandalized by the cross. They could not conceive of God who would allow His Son to die that way. I know, there are some, you don't want to hear this kind of stuff. Because you want to live your little Christian life that you think it's all nicey-nicey. You don't want to face the cross. But during this Lent season, this is what we do. We focus on the cross. And we start coming to a place where we truly appreciate what Jesus went through to save our soul. Amen? Yeah. See, now the Greeks were another matter. First off, the Greeks, by their own tradition, they didn't practice crucifixion, so they didn't have the problems that the Jews did. As a matter of fact, they tended to look at philosophy as an answer for the deepest problems in life and in the world. The notion of a man hanging on the cross to save the world, it was just absolute nonsense to them. You see, the world has not changed its opinions.